Hello friends, how are you today? I'm really excited to show you the meaning of these energies today. There are some really interesting dynamics here and a key event that happened before this wave of energy. And I'm going to show you what is going on with the frequency walls that I had pointed out in my last video. If you remember, I had pointed out that there was a red wall. It was at, it's about 21.8 there. It rose up and then came off. And the reason it was so important is because at the same time, the frequencies flatlined as well. And it was reminiscent of the similar energy from last year. So if you want more, go ahead and go back and listen to that video. This is really interesting. Something broke the frequency wall right here. I was just showing you the wall in qualities. Now here are the frequencies. Okay, so this is F. And you see that it's going along in that straight line. It had continued. It was going along the straight line and then bam, for at least 5 hours before it came back up here. What was that? Let's take a look. This is what broke the frequency wall. This speech. It's really phenomenal. This speech occurred, and then within an hour after the speech, this wave of white resonance poured forth on the chart. When I look at the image of this, of these waves of energy, it looks like a very tall and thin, highly compressed image of the gates of heaven. It's really astounding, and that tells me that that was what people were dreaming of. And the other thing that this tells me is that this event here had worldwide attention, a worldwide dramatic attention. I don't know of anything else that was going on at that time. Now, the other really interesting thing here is like there's almost like a record skip here on the chart, and you can see it here like, wow. It was interesting. As soon as I saw this chart energy, I was wondering where that speech coincided, because it's almost like a, this isn't the reality we were expecting, or a change in reality, or like we're going to take off that record and put on this one. And right before that happens, there's the needle drags across the record. If it's not done properly. Let's see what happened to the movement of the energies. So, okay. So you see right here, the speech ended right here. That was about the length of the speech. And then boom, literally right off a cliff. It's amazing, isn't it? His speech broke the wall, the frequency wall. It's incredible. Now, when you go and you look, what you can see is that, let me just get the level that it was at before. Okay. It did come back, but it has not achieved the stability that it had previously. And so we'll see what happens because now it's narrowed. It's just super suspenseful at the end of the day. It narrowed here, so we'll have to see what happened. But it's really interesting because the next image also broke the frequency wall. And we're going to look at the meaning of that in a second. But first, I want to also look at the qualities, because when this dynamic was in play in the fall to the winter of last year, the frequency and the quality were both in a straight line. And it was incredible. It was for weeks that dragged into months. Okay, so what you see here is that, again, the timing of that speech, it breaks any attempt by red to get back up to that frequency, get back up to create that wall. Look what happens. Now you've got it down here at this level. the keys on this side. So now it's between 5 and 10, instead of being in the 20s. Now, what's really interesting is that the quality, so the quality being the closest to the true expression of that frequency, right? The higher the quality numbers, the more fully it's embodying the truth of its essence, okay? So I have often said the darkness rises before the light. It's sort of called forth before the light arrives. And so this is interesting to me because I don't know if that, I'm calling it a flag image that came next, was really, I'm wondering if there aren't going to be some bigger waves of energy. And we do know that there's some solar activity coming that is supposed to be dramatic. So it's just making me wonder if we can forecast here that some other big wave is coming, okay? Now, the other alternative explanation to this is that the shadow forces, okay? Because red can be our passion, but it can also be the depth of experience of energy. We could also see this as a strong reaction from the shadow side of our nature, or the shadow side of a strong passionate reaction, but I feel like it's more the shadow side of, that's just an intuitive feel, that the shadow side rises before light. So I think it's possible if we got some additional waves of white resonance in the graphic chart, I would anticipate, I feel like that's coming. And in fact, we did have 2 rises before these waves. It's interesting, they were a few days ago, and I was wondering if we would get some white on the chart. Now, they weren't to 41. That's pretty dramatic. What happens here? Let me just check my notes. All right, so I showed you that, but what I want to finish showing you is, because I want to show you really clearly what was going on with the quality here. Okay, so here, 21.8, okay? So what you can see is that the red resonance, and I'm entirely focused on the red resonance here because that's really where the story is, except for this right here, 56, and oh my goodness, and the green, whoa. So here's 21.8, but what you can see is that although a wall was built for a certain amount of time, once that broke, it hasn't really been able to reestablish that really thin, narrow band. And it seems like a certain level of communications, a certain level of information, a certain level of quality of experience in the astral, really sort of like toying with or creating a full expression in the depth of human emotion, and then attempting to focus that in a very narrow funnel is possibly what contributes to creating this wall, just based upon an anecdotal observation of what was going on when this happened last year and what was going on when the wall reappeared in the red qualities and the red frequencies recently. And it's interesting because you might see that I put out a 1-hour astrology video analyzing the energy of the asteroid Diesel, representing diesel fuel and diesel engines or trucks and stuff, opposing Mars. And it's fascinating because those 2 energies are in what I call a funnel. And I explained exactly the power move there, and that's how our energy was being funneled. But this has broken, okay, the core communication about this trend. And it has not, in the days since, it has not been able, whatever this force is that was communicating that, has not been able to reestablish the walls in quality especially, and the wall and frequency has come back, but it is not stabilized, is how I would describe it right now. Now, 56 in green is very high, so I'm just going to note that here. This is, I think humanity is not okay with these frequency walls. They're not okay with what that represents. And it's like our heart leaps up, our soul leaps up, and we just say no. No to that. It's really interesting. I had talked about that we had courage through the memory of the soul connection, the memory that the divine, that God has our back. But what this is doing is giving us a real, like, full flavored taste of that, because you had this little mountain of quality here between 15 and, well, into the 30s, before it leaped to 56. So, you know that in that song where he says, "I'm feeling myself." What is that? It's the sorry. Anyway. So it's like we're feeling our full self. You know, it's cool. It's cool in the face of what we're facing. It's pretty awesome. Ooh, that occurred. Look at that. That occurred at Jacob's Ladder here, right? Before this speech and before the wave of resonance, what did we see? We saw this image of a ladder, and then basically a wall, and then this kind of strange looking, to me this looked like an animal, kind of splayed out. The head here, this is where the arms are, this is where the legs are, and then here you have a long tail. It's like an alligator. You know, it's kind of got the long nose here, long, wide, triangle-ish shaped head. Then the short arms. So it's like a crocodile or an alligator. It's like this energy is stopped by this wall. And then we get Jacob's Ladder. But essentially, Jacob's Ladder, when Jacob had the dream, it was about the connection between earth and God's realm. And angels were going up and down this ladder to heaven and then to earth. And he realized the sacredness of this land when he had the dream. I'm just using the words that are in the quote. The sacredness of this land. And God reminds him that he is there for his people. And then this happens. Let's look at the next image. What are the dreams of our people? This is a clear statement. My last video, I explained that the purpose of the wall was to break the flag. And look, astoundingly, the flag is whole. It's come back together post this event. And you really see the interplay here of our belief as the human species in God and divinity, and the interplay between the human energy and the divine energy. It's phenomenal, isn't it? It's truly amazing in this moment where we are willing to show ourselves, this is what I dream about. This is what is valuable to me. A place I can call home under the flag of my country. And what builds the country? Healthy families in stable homes, effectively and lovingly raising children into healthy communities, the collection of all these homes together by communities which make up the country. This is the dynamic, and look at it. Look at the calm blue that surrounds this image. We have just crystallized in ourselves, within the human self, communing with the divine. Quality is up to 56. We essentially experience a group dream of Jacob's Ladder. We imagine when we hear this encouraging, this speech apparently encourages us for some reason, and it brings to mind the gates of heaven. This is what we create after the situation occurs. And so God works in mysterious ways. These are the triggers, and these are our responses. It's phenomenal. So during Jacob's dream, this is what happens. He hears the voice of God, and God says, "The land on which you lie, I will give to you and to your offspring. Your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. And in you and your offspring shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you." Wow. And for the present day, this passage and the meaning of Jacob's ladder is amazing. I want to read you one more encouraging word from a speech from my favorite president. He says, "Over the course of your life, you will find that things are not always fair. You will find that things happen to you that you do not deserve and that are not always warranted. But you have to put your head down and fight, fight, fight. Never, ever, ever give up. Don't give in, don't back down, and never stop doing what you know is right. Nothing worth doing ever, ever, ever came easy, and the more righteous your fight, the more opposition you will face." The calm in the Schumann is a respite for us to renew our souls and then to apply ourselves again, as each of us is called to do.